to be mic'd still?
Oh, don't worry. So Doris.
Oh, okay.
Don, now that you've both been on Silicon Valley Successes and we've been sitting here backstage and we've had a lot of great things to talk about, I just wanted to continue the conversation as this is great information that I think a lot of startups and founders out there could benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
So continue talking, please.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. I was going to share that one of my observations with startups, especially when I was in Palo Alto, is that the younger startups weren't as interested in getting involved in the chamber, but if it was a little bit older founder, so they had already gone, created their first success, now they were working on their dream project, they really got the value.
Right. They could get the value.
They did. Right. They really understood that the time investment, I mean, not the time necessarily, but the investment of resources was worth it. And they actually moved the needle on some of their projects that way. You know, whether it was getting a whole town signed up for some new concept that they had, or it was a new restaurant product that they needed to take out. Now, Palo Alto has some startup fatigue, so that's not the spot I would go to at this particular point. But Mountain View, they're still trying some things, maybe not in the restaurant space as much, but an older founder definitely can see the value a little bit more easily because they don't feel like they have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. And for me, I totally agree. And I also see that there's such a dearth of opinions out there that if you're going to be a startup, it's inherently you're 20 years old.
Right.
Right. And guess what? The baby boomers, it's a huge market. Yeah. And there's a lot of baby boomers that are entrepreneurs and creating businesses. And they have the whole package. They have the business experience. They've seen it before, right? So I've always find it interesting, especially with the startups that I work with that are the 20, 22-year-olds. Mm-hmm. They're missing so much of the wealth of information that they can get by thinking that people over 30 have nothing to offer. And so to me, that's just, do that at your own peril. Because not only is the expertise, it's the financial, who's going to buy your services.
Right.
If you're catering specifically to other 20-year-olds, that's another thing. But guess who's going to be buying your products? People that are over 30.
Right.
Yeah. So, don't dismiss that audience.
And that's, that to add on to that, that is the value of a lot of the resources that we all have and can bring to the table, is that we have a little bit more experience and we can align you with people with experience for the basic business services that you need, that you don't really need to reinvent.
Exactly.
There's not a value to reinventing.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Sean?
I agree with everything you said. And then just to talk to Doris a little bit, what information do you wish you had mentioned on Silicon Valley Successes that maybe there wasn't time for or that we didn't cover?
Well, the only thing I can really think of is just some specific examples, perhaps, of people that I've worked with in the startup specifically, because I work with a lot of different things, not just startups. But so one of the startups I worked with was a Chinese-based company, and there was probably maybe 20 young. They were really young. There was a couple founders that were probably over 30, but most of them were 20, 22-year-old Chinese, and it's an online program for education where you can learn coding, and once you graduate the program, Google, Facebook, Apple, they're the ones that are going to hire these people. Okay. And so they're teaching around the world. So they brought me in. I did a 4-part series of how do the staff people, how do they not only relate to each other than just being on the computer all day, but then also how do they relate to the students they're trying to attract into their program. And because a lot of it is talking, and they're not used to it per se because they're so used to the online stuff and the texting. And here in Silicon Valley, is you have to be able to talk to people because a startup isn't going to be able to do a startup online.
How ironic is that?
They just can't.
You have to be able to talk to people in Silicon
Valley. But they don't
Valley.
think about it, right? So again, it's like if you want to be as a 20-year-old, if you're talking to who has the money, typically it's people that are over 30.
Yes.
Not all the time, but typically. So if you, again, discount that as it's irrelevant, then you're discounting a huge swath of your market.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
So I did a 4-part series on how to talk to each other, how to talk to a startup, how do you look on video, right? And just getting over the whole confidence thing. But again, it's like, if you can't figure out how to talk to different types of people,
Yes.
you're not going to get very far. And that Silicon Valley is perfect because it's a melting pot. It is like the melting pot within the melting pot that the United States is.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is this finite melting pot. Get out there and start practicing on all these different communities.
Wow.
That's great. I want to share more about what you do with the businesses that belong to the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yeah, because a lot
we have
of them
50,000 people out there that need
that.
that are members that need to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, talk about meeting people and a little bit about networking. Can you talk about the value of that?
You go first, and then I'll piggyback, girlfriend, because I'm all over your events.
I know. One of the things that I was sharing earlier with Doris was just that I meet so many people, and we exchange business cards. And perhaps there's even an offer made for, something, join me at this event, or we have this coming up, and they don't follow up.
Crickets,
And I just don't understand it, because that is absolutely the magic, is to follow up. Sean, you're excellent at following up.
Oh,
that I would listen one of it's a
testimonial
super
for this.
skill for
Sean
you.
follows up.
You do. You're great at introducing people, at thinking, oh my goodness, I met Doris and Dawn would be great.
Right.
Let's put them together and see what happens.
It's totally planned this episode.
See?
But it isn't. It's just what you do. That's that's a tremendous skill of Sean's.
Right.
But not everybody has that.
Right.
Right?
Right. Not
what is your
everybody
experience
has that.
with people networking?
Oh, exactly the same. And also, not only the bad follow-up, but again, they show up, so if a lot of people say, oh, there's a networking event. Like, we'll use the chambers, because chambers have a lot of networking events.
Sure.
Going to show up, we'll go there, I know I'm going to get a lot of business. And they show up, and they get with who they already know. And they drink the drink, and they eat the food, and they sit with the 3 people they already know. Or they'll go out and get 20 cards and not follow up.
Never
but then
follow
the next
up.
they go, what a waste of time that was. Right. So for me, I'm all about networking with intention. Right. And it's not necessarily if I want to meet this person, and that's the only reason why you're there.
Right.
But again, it's like, if you don't have a plan of why am I going to be there, it's an expensive proposition, both the cost to get in, but also the time.
Right.
Who has all this time
to
give up to a wasted event?
I agree with that.
You guys spend a lot of your time making it a worthwhile event to go to for a reason.
Right.
And so it just behooves people to be smart about how do they network. And again, for me, the key is, what do you say when you network?
Right. And that's perfect, because when I work with new chamber members, I really, really try to manage expectations around that. Around it, you're not going to get 12 new clients or 12 new investors or whatever your thought is. You really need to go open-minded, and you need to be very authentic in your interactions with people. So kind of turn that hat around with you as a business owner and just be a human, right? And connect with people, find things, commonalities.
And it's funny because the human thing is, especially as a brand new business owner, is I need clients. I'm going to go to these because I need clients. And again, we all do it. I need clients. And that's what you lead with. So people, it's all about this energy that you can feel. It's like, I have the greatest thing, but underlying that is, I need clients. Will you sign up?
People feel that.
And you
that
can
translates.
feel it, right? And people back off because it's like, ooh. So new business owners, my feeling is they have to go through that because they need clients.
Right.
But you have to go through that because you can say all day long, you don't want to do that. But until they internalize that they're doing it and what it feels like, and they come out through the other side to finally go, oh, I used to be that way, and now I've made it. It's like, oh my God, I used to do it too. I used to do it, and you don't want to do it, but I was doing it.
Right.
But you don't realize you're doing it till you're successful enough that you've gone through it to know that, oh my God, that's what I was doing.
Right.
And for me, it's teaching by feeling it. You have to be able to feel that you were doing it.
You know what can be helpful? The chamber has, and there are a lot of these out there, not necessarily chamber related, but leads groups, where you can practice your message. So if you go to some of the really big leads groups, there's a lot of formality involved. But in something like a chamber organization, we have a leads group. They meet every other week.
Right.
They get to practice their 30-second or 10-second, pitch. They get to expand on it because they're sharing it with people that over time they feel comfortable with.
Right.
And then once you know one another's businesses, it's very easy then to switch that hat.
Right.
Because that's what I suggest to them at a networking event.
Right.
I'm gonna talk about your business and you're gonna talk about mine. Like
Right.
get out of our own way.
Right. So I'd introduce Sean, and he'd introduce you, and
Exactly.
you'd introduce me. Right. So I have a philosophy about, like, if you're in a leads group that meets regularly, and say there's 30 people in it, pretty much after a year, everybody knows pretty much who everybody is and what they do.
Yeah.
And that's where this practice of standard 30-second elevator pitch is. So my suggestion is you need to change that up. It's like, you just keep your name, keep your business name, but every time you say something a little bit different, because when people hear something different, you never know what will trigger. It's like, oh, I have the perfect person for you. But if you say the same thing every week, people are going to go, oh, Sean, okay, he's going to say, and they can say it back. They're not learning anything new. They're not. But then if you're at a true networking event, that's when you want to absolutely have something different to say. Because, again, each event is different, and each person that you come across at the event will be different. That's where the short one comes in.
Right.
You don't want to give the thing that you do at your networking group. That's the wrong thing to say at a networking event.
Yeah. That's great. That was one of my favorite takeaways in your talk earlier, though, was just to realize how different those messages are.
Yeah, it is different.
And how important. It's so hard to do one.
Yeah.
Right? That the thought of doing 5 or 7 seems
well, but that's
scary.
the mistake most people that I come across, that because I do a lot of working with people on their elevator pitches, so that's another program I have. The mistake people have is, but I do so much. I have to say it all or they won't know what I do.
Oh,
so they cram this much, and they either talk too fast and nobody can understand a single word you're saying, or they just go on and on and on and on and on. And after, again, 7 seconds, people are going, is this clown ever going to be quiet? And when people start doing that, it makes them upset.
Yeah.
And when you get upset, you're going, hey, we're only supposed to have 30 seconds, and this guy's still going on. Yeah. And are you ever going to recommend somebody that
oh, God, no.
You're not going to recommend them.
No, it's
you're
true.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're introducing a burden to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
What feels like a burdensome conversation on somebody.
But the other thing that's funny is it's like, you guys don't talk too long because it's boring, but then I get up and it's different because it's me.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody does it, is because, well, I'm different. So I'll do it because what I have to say is important. And I need to get everything out there. But you guys, oh my God, you're talking too long. It's human nature. It just cracks me up.
Yes.
Cracks me up.
I'd like to do a workshop of some sort where we work on that 10-word sentence.
10 word or less, man. I call it my zip line. Or your zip line.
Yeah.
Because, when you condense files, you zip your files so they're short.
Sure.
And then, the zip line where it goes lickety-split fast.
Yeah.
So I usurped it.
I liked it.
Your zip line.
That's pretty clever.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Do you have your zip line worked out,
10
Sean?
words or less.
No, but I need it.
You
I
do.
I have multiples.
You know people. You do.
I know people.
You
Zip
do.
Line. Zip line. Zip line. Zip line.
Well, this was amazing information, Doris, Dawn. Thank you guys for the extra time.
You're welcome.
Sure.
And once again, I look forward to seeing you guys on our show again in the future. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Dawn and Doris. What are your emails and contact information?
Dawn at chambermv.org.
Doris at SiliconValleySpeaks.com.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Sean.